Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Friends, from today we would like to offer you another series of short Dhamma talks as the real Dhamma bit by bit based on the original teachings of the Buddha. As you all are well aware, the teachings of the Buddha are different from that of all other faiths, religions. That means we cannot put the teachings of the Buddha into the same basket with other religions in the world, mainly because it is not a religion. As you know, the main characteristics of a religion are the concept of a creator God and a permanent entity called soul or self, which are not available in the teachings of the Buddha. That is why I say that the Buddha Dhamma or Buddhism is not a religion. It is neither a religion nor a philosophy. It is the Buddha Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha. That is how we call it. It is not another ism. We call it Buddha Dhamma, means the teachings of the Buddha. That's it. Those who want to understand it should read his original discourses, but not the later works. Then, what are the original teachings of the Buddha? They are mainly the long discourses of the Buddha, the middle-length discourses of the Buddha, the connected discourses of the Buddha, and the numerical discourses of the Buddha. Whenever you read these wonderful teachings, you can understand clearly that his teachings are not stories, but real nature of yourself. How you were born to this world as the result of your own volitional actions, volitional formations, and how you respond to the stimulus energies you receive through the receptors in the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the body from the external environment. You can understand the emotional aspect of your mind, intellectual aspect of your mind, and the perceptual aspect of your mind. And finally, you can understand the way to calm down all your emotions by yourself and can experience the real bliss here in this very world. This is the nature of the teachings of the Buddha. This is why we want to encourage you to read these wonderful teachings, which can be heard, can be learned, can be experienced after long time, because the Buddhas are rare beings. They are born to this world after long time. Well, today we want to understand the birth of beings. According to the teachings of the Buddha, beings are not created. They all are born to this world. All beings are born and they all die. That is the nature of all beings. In other words, whatever is in the nature of arising, it is in the nature of perishing. One day, addressing a king, the Buddha said, all beings die, and with death, they all come to the end of this life. You see, only the end of this life, but not the end of all things, not the end of all our sansaric journey. We all are wandering in samsara. Samsara means the cycle of births and deaths. All right-thinking people can understand that we all are born again and again and die again and again. Why? Because we have attachments. Things happen again and again due to the principle of cause and effect, causality, the dependent origination. As humans, we have to accept the real nature of life and the world. Here we do not talk on religions, but the real nature, real Dhamma in the world. The real Dhamma bit by bit. As a fact, we can understand that beings are born in different ways, different methods, such as womb-born beings, egg-born beings, moisture-born beings, and spontaneously born beings. Further, the Buddha has categorized beings as movable beings, immovable beings, footless beings, 2 feet beings, 4 feet beings, and many feet beings. Once the Buddha categorized all beings into 2 groups, simply 2 groups, once born beings and twice born beings. This is how the Buddha's analyst Buddha categorized all these beings in the whole system of the world. They all have both physicality and mentality. They all have a mind. That is the specialty. Beings mean they have mind. There are some people, they do not know this fact. They don't accept that beings have a mind. If we believe that beings are created, well, that is possible only the physicality of beings, but not the mind and mentality. It is impossible to create this mind and mentality. The teachings of the Buddha is based on the mind. In order to describe this mind, the Buddha used three different terms as Chitta, Mano and Vijnana, for which in English we do not have three equivalents. We find only consciousness and mind, only two terms. That is the problem. Only both these are certainly insufficient to describe the real nature of this mind. If there are created things, well, we have no objection. We accept them. We accept them all. But according to the teachings of the Buddha, all created things are impermanent, transient, unstable, and evanescent. Once the Buddha said, all created things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the way to purity, Nibbana, the highest bliss. In order to understand clearly what is the birth of beings, let's now listen to the excellent master, the general of the Dhamma, Venerable Sariputta. Once, in his discourse of the exposition of the truth, addressing his brethren, the brother monks, he says, "And what, friends, is birth? The birth of beings into the various orders of beings. They are coming to birth, precipitation in a womb, generation, the manifestation of the aggregates, and obtaining the sense basis for contact. This is called birth." In accordance with these teachings, it is clear that what is birth of beings means nothing but obtaining the six sense bases and the manifestation of the five aggregates. This is very important. Of course, these two, six sense bases and the five aggregates, these are wonderful things to understand. With this understanding, we can understand ourselves. It is an internal journey. The Buddha's teaching is not to observe external things, not to do our observations in the whole world out there. It is to see ourselves. We have to see ourselves. We have to understand our own nature. Only then we can understand the world. Once, addressing the monks, the Buddha said, the world, the origination of the world, the cessation of the world, and the path leading to the cessation of the world are here within ourselves. If we observe ourselves, means our mind, when we say that ourselves, there is no self, no permanent entity to be called self, within or without. Self simply means permanent thing. Permanent thing. There's no such things. No permanent things inside or outside. Everything is in a flux of changing. That is how we have to understand. Then we can understand that things are transient, nothing permanent. If there is nothing permanent, what is to be grasped? To what should we attach? As the Buddha said, there is nothing to be attached in the world. Nothing. If we can understand this real nature, if we can understand the 5 aggregates and the 6 sense bases, that itself is wonderful. Because so-called man or woman means this 5 aggregates and 6 sense bases. All these 6 sense bases are in function mainly because of our mind. Not only the 5 aggregates, 5 sense bases. Everything in this pattern high body, everything is in function because of the mind. Mind is the forerunner. The Buddha said, mind is the forerunner. That is how we have to understand the teachings of the Buddha. If we understand these 5 aggregates of existence, we can understand the 6 sense bases, because the 5 aggregates arise in the 6 sense bases. Then we can understand the 4 noble truths. 4 noble truths. Unsatisfactoriness, the cause of unsatisfactoriness, the cessation of unsatisfactoriness, and the path leading to the cessation of unsatisfactoriness. Unsatisfactoriness arises because of these 5 aggregates. If we can see the cause is nothing but attachment, but craving, not attachment, craving. It is because of craving. Craving is the cause of unsatisfactoriness. Then we can see the cessation of craving and the path leading to the cessation of craving itself in the senses. In these 6 senses, further we can understand the dependent origination. Dependent origination. It is a special principle, teachings of the Buddha. Through this, the Buddha taught us the interconnectedness of things, interrelatedness of things. in the whole system of the world. We all are interdependently existing. No isolation existences in the world. Things are existing interdependently. That is what is called dependent origination. We can understand this through the teachings of the Buddha. All these are within us. If we understand these two principles, two things, what are the two things? 6 sense bases and 5 aggregates correctly, as the Buddha really taught us. Friends, this is how we have to understand the real teachings of the Buddha. Let's understand both these factors, 6 sense bases and the 5 aggregates, as well as the real teachings of the Buddha bit by bit in days to come. Have a great day. Thank you. May all beings be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy